Hello and welcome along to another fantastic episode, I hope at least, of EPLW. I'm Joe. Subscribe to this channel to make sure you never miss a stream again. It's Joe Carter, EPLW. Allow notifications and all that as well. If you like the video, click the like button. On this week's show, we're going to look back at this weekend's action in the EPL so far, including Man City Arsenal, West Ham's victory over Tottenham, and Fulham's resilient display against Sheffield United. We've got fantasy Premier League tips from Roz, and we'll take a look at mine and Roz's predictions from yesterday morning's EPL Game Week warm-up show. And to celebrate Everton's win at Anfield, I want you to start thinking of players for a Merseyside Derby combined 11 for this season to finish the show. If you're watching and you've got any suggestions or want to get involved in any way, just drop a comment in the live chat. And you can also always tweet us at EPLWpod. Alongside me today, I've got the one and only Ranty Roz and nutmegologist and official Costa holder, Mus. How are we doing, chaps? Do you want to introduce yourselves and tell our viewers something you are looking forward to talking about on today's episode? Mus.
Oh, yeah, evening all. I'm Mus. I'm a Arsenal season ticket holder, so not in the best mood right now after that Man City game. So I'm more looking forward to discussing West Ham's victory earlier today.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about West Ham's victory as well. Roz?
Hi, I'm Roz. I'm a Millwall season ticket holder, so not so much looking forward to talking about West Ham's victory over Spurs today.
How do you know how do you know if someone's a Millwall fan, Mus?
They tell you within the first second.
Straight on your back, Roz. I've picked up where I've left off yesterday. Anyway, apologies. We've already got a comment from Tim. Tim's in the comments. He's saying hello. He's saying I look like Joey Barton. Thanks a lot, mate. Okay, let's get straight to it. Arsenal, Man City. Wow. I mean, where do we start here? Arsenal 0, Man City 1 at the Emirates. Arsenal gave it their best shot, didn't they, Mus?
Yeah, you could say that. I think fundamentally they went with the same approach that got them to the final of the FA Cup last year. The same approach that worked well in the Community Shield. But I think with the combination of some key personnel missing, so I think if you're going to play that way, you really need a centre-back or someone in the defensive line that can play a decent diagonal ball to one of your attacking players. So without David Luiz, it was quite difficult for Arsenal to get out of the basically the transition from defence to attack. So they would kind of invite Man City onto them, but struggle to then break the press. And also without Partey or another ball-carrying midfielder, it was also like quite arduous trying to get through Man City. So I think I can understand why we went with the same tactics. I think some people would see it as negative. Ultimately, he'll be judged on the fact that we didn't win. So, yeah.
You're addressing Arsenal there as we. So is that you letting us in on your the who you support? Because we've never known who you support. You've kept it really quiet. You wear a different shirt every week. But now you're saying we. I know you've got a season ticket at the Emirates. I could hear you there today. What's
Yeah, you're putting me on a spot there, Joe. I'm everything that's wrong about the modern day footballer. You know, I've got a few allegiances.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll find out later in the season, perhaps. Let's keep everyone on tenterhooks.
Maybe.
Roz, yeah, Mus alluded to the point there that Arsenal weren't really mobile enough in the transition. And I mean, if you're going to start with, no offence to either of them, well, maybe to Xhaka, but Xhaka and El Neni, if you're going to start with those two as your centre mids, can you expect that quick transition that you're looking for? I noticed a few errant passes from El Neni. He's not really up to match speed. He's not been in the team much recently. Was that where it went wrong for Arsenal? It's why they couldn't get anything out of the game?
I thought they had a few. What interested me was that they kept sort of everything that was good, particularly in the first half, was going through Bukayo Saka, and it really felt as if he's sort of become a talisman now more than Aubameyang, who I really didn't think did much. I thought, considering starting lineups and the quality of player there, you alluded to El Neni just now. Pablo Mari was at Man City for 3 years and couldn't break into the League Cup squad, let alone
Yeah.
the main Premier League team. I think that kind of just tells you where both clubs are at the moment.
There is a bit of a golfing class, isn't there? Yeah. So we'll move on from that one then. I think a valiant display from Arsenal. Before we move on to the next game we're going to talk about, Ros, you predicted 4-0 City for this one, and I predicted 1-0 Arsenal. So I don't think either of us get the points there. You said Gundogan main man, I said Leno main man. So
well, I got the result technically.
okay, you got the win.
Scored.
Okay, you can have a point. Right, Mus, can you put a point in the Ros column, please? And we'll have a look at our predictions as we go today. We'll try and remember them. Remember, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, and get in the comments and say hello, share your opinion, and we'll share them on there as well. So now we are going to look at. It's always, when Arsenal lose, it saddens me as an Arsenal fan. But at the same time, when Spurs lose, it kind of lifts my mood slightly, especially when they lose to West Ham. West Ham. I am, of course, talking about the game earlier today. West Ham 2, Spurs 1. And this one I predicted, actually, Ros, to be... Let's have a look. Where is it? Let me just find it. Here we go. I predicted... Oh, where's it gone? I predicted 2-1 to West Ham and Lingard to be the main man.
3 points.
Nailed it, mate. 3 points in the Joe column. Okay. And Ros, you predicted this one to be 2-1 to Spurs and Kane to score. So, any points for you there, Ros?
No. I mean, Kane had a few shots. Can I get like 3/4 of a point, maybe?
No. Talking of Kane and Tottenham kind of stuttering at the moment. We'll go on to what West Ham did right, but I want to know what's going wrong at Tottenham first, Ros.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask different fans, half of them will say it's players, half of them will say it's the manager. The media, particularly sort of Sky pundits, seem to be leaning towards that this Tottenham defence just isn't good enough. It's not the same defence that Pochettino had 3 years ago. Alderweireld is older. His legs kind of gone a bit. But I think if you actually look at the other defenders, Ben Davies was on the bench today. I think he's been a fairly consistent Premier League player. You had the likes of Eric Dyer, who has done a job for Spurs before. Tanganga, likewise. You've also got Matt Doherty, who came on from the bench. I think the actual calibre of these players, Davinson Sanchez, who's been an international for a long time now, I would say it's actually better than the defence that Mourinho had at Man United when he got them to second place. So I'm starting to lean towards the players either aren't following his direction, or is Mourinho just not the coach that he once was?
Yeah. Do you know what? That's an interesting point, actually. I was just looking through my phone because I got an emotional kind of message from a Spurs fan friend, an emotional kind of long message. I'm going to read it out, okay? I've asked him if I can read it out. It's from Mike. He says, honestly, lads, I really do believe whoever manages Spurs will have the same issues. This is an old, haggard squad that Poch had and flogged, and they declined under him and ultimately got him the sack. Jose is the world's most successful manager, and he has basically the same players as Poch had. Jose is boring, I admit, but the squad isn't good enough. Many of them, like Dyer and Sanchez and Aurier, are dog poo. Until Levy spends some money on some quality players, this is our life as Spurs fans. Any new manager will face the same issues, I really do think. Simeone would get a bounce for a month or two, a few new ideas, but at the end of the day, if Poch or Jose couldn't work with the same players, who can? So, I mean, he's saying even if they were to get someone like Simeone, they wouldn't be able to work with this squad. Mus, what's your take on it?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a really interesting contribution from Mike there. I kind of feel for them. I think Pochettino did leave them kind of on a downward trajectory. I think they just reached the Champions League final, but if I remember correctly, they also didn't qualify for the next season's Champions League. So you're in the Europa League, or probably Europa League level players. So initially, it was a great kind of it was of great benefit to to have kept that squad together, and they grew together. But I think Mike's right that after a bit, particularly in defence, with Alderweireld kind of aging, and with Aurier showing that he's quite kind of prone to giving away a silly mistake, or it's a penalty, or like or losing his man, or that kind of thing. So, and I haven't really addressed those failings. But then, where I do feel sorry for not Jose, but I think structurally there are some mitigating circumstances. So Daniel Levy can be criticised for perhaps not buying players, but I think he was probably right for trying to pursue that stadium project.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, actually, we saw something similar across North London, didn't we, with Arsenal's move to the Emirates in 2006, and how that financially affected the club, and they had to sort of take a bit of a dive. Ros, one last thing on Tottenham. What's Harry?
Sorry, Joe,
sorry, Miss. Go on.
Just finish off that stadium point. I think whatever vision he had for balancing the books and increasing the stadium capacity was kind of torpedoed by COVID, right? So now you've got the debts, you're borrowing more, and you can't invest, and that's just
So it's a bit of a trifecta, what you're saying, a financial trifecta. Ros, what are Kane and Son doing at Spurs? When are they going to leave? Surely, they're too good for Spurs.
Definitely. Although Son, the last 5 or 6 games, I think it's actually been ominous. He's in terrible form at the moment, considering how well both of those guys started the season. I don't want to dig every club out. Like yesterday morning, I only meant to dig out Leeds, and I ended up digging out Palace, Brighton, and Cheltenham. I don't want to dig out Spurs. I didn't have this intention. But if it's the players and it's a lack of investment, and it's the players aren't good enough, you've got probably one of the 3 most coveted forwards in European football in Harry Kane. You've got a left back who's on loan from Real Madrid. You've got a right back who was probably one of the best right backs of the last 2 seasons since Wolves have come up in Doherty. I agree that there's certainly a issue at centre half. He doesn't know his best area and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if I fully agree. They also had Højbjerg, who's probably one of the signings of the summer, and I think it's been superb.
Well, this is it. We talk about Spurs not signing the players, but Højbjerg is the one. Højbjerg's the one that is sort of the light at the end of the tunnel a bit for Spurs, isn't he? Because he's actually been a bit more positive.
But Ndombele as well. Son, Kane, we've already spoken about. I think Lo Celso is a brilliant little player, a real Mourinho type player. So
he's a player, Jeff. He's a player.
Players? I'm not so sure about that.
Well, Mourinho's certainly a serial winner, isn't he? He's won trophies at every club he's been at, and you sort of get the impression that I personally think maybe it's a bit of a mountain out of a molehill. They're just going through a bad patch. It's been a weird season. A lot of teams have experienced these patches. Only Man City really have been able to put together a run of form. Really, that's lasting.
We also can't forget that they are in a cup final this season.
They are in a cup final. There you go. Yeah, against City, of course.
City on the 25th of April.
Oh, factoid. Nice one. Look, so let's get on to West Ham. What did West Ham do right? Was it the mighty Lingard effect? The Lingard link up for Moyes, Miss?
Yeah, it was partly that. But I think him and Antonio were terrific today. Really really bullied and stretched the Tottenham back line. But then they've just got a really good backbone to that team. So Souček and Declan Rice, I think they probably outplayed and outperformed Ndombele and Højbjerg in the middle. And when you see Souček getting a bang on his head, blood dripping down his face, still getting up to block the second ball, I think that fighting spirit has been instilled in them from Moyes, and that's to his credit.
But that's something that Souček and also Soufal have brought in. They are, I don't want to stereotype them, but they're like, these pretty hard working, hardcore kind of players that they brought in from Prague, was it? And, you know, Slavia Prague, known to be quite a hard working team, very, very strong ethic there. And maybe that's what West Ham have always needed, just a bit more bite, you know? What do you reckon, Ros?
Yeah, I mean, they've accumulated some incredibly talented number 10s and wingers over the last sort of 3 or 4 years. You said before, you know, the likes of Yarmolenko, Lanzini can't get on the pitch. But actually, you know, he's brought in Lingard, Ben Rama seems to be doing quite well when he's coming on for them. David Moyes struck a really good balance there. And it really hurts me a little bit.
Yeah, I actually heard something on the radio earlier. Someone saying Moyes out because he's not good enough to be managing a team 4th in the Premier League. Bit harsh, but yeah, no, he's actually, I mean, they are 4th in the Premier League, 45 points. They're 4th rightfully and on their own there as well. Who'd have thought that West Ham would be 4th and Tottenham would be 9th going into this fixture, you know, beginning of the season? We never would have said it would be that way around, would we? It's an interesting one. But look, I'm going to move on because we've talked about Spurs a lot there, which, you know, hopefully will quieten down the naysayers that say I don't talk about Spurs enough because I'm an Arsenal fan. Anyway, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, remember to subscribe to the channel, Joe Carter EPLW, and also allow notifications so you never miss a live stream, and tell a friend to tell a friend, and that's how we're going to grow together and build this community around EPL Weekly. Okay, we're going to talk about Fulham, Sheffield United very quickly. Fulham beat Sheffield United 1-0 yesterday. Are Fulham putting together a run? Are they going to make the great escape? Are they going to make Ros look like an idiot?
They can make idiots of us all, I think, because so we'd already condemned the 3 bottom sides to relegation, but I think perhaps the only one of the 3 showing promise and showing momentum is Fulham. We said last week, I think, that they're just not turning enough draws into victories. They did that yesterday against Sheffield United, and they're playing well. They're performing a lot better than some of the draws suggest. So they've dragged Newcastle to within 4 points. Newcastle go up against Man United in 10 or so minutes. So I think, it could get interesting. Yeah,
and perhaps the most unexpected of the 3, Ros, to make a resurgence in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks. You would expect Sheffield United maybe had their injury situation improved to make something out of it. You would expect Big Sam at West Brom, you know, Big Sam to do his Big Sam thing. But it's actually turned out to be Scott Parker and Fulham who came up through the playoffs, who are maybe they're finally starting to gel as a team, do you think? Because there were a lot of ins and outs over the summer, weren't there?
Yeah, I think Scott Parker's got a really good idea of the players he can trust now. Anderson's been brilliant since he's brought him in from Lyon, I think. Adamo Lukman, the other Lewisham lad.
Charlton boy, wasn't he?
Josh Madger.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lukman got the goal yesterday. Back on, I mean, in terms of, I think Fulham have a very tough run of fixtures in March. They've got a few of the top teams there. If they get through that, the club that's sort of closest to them, Smith said, I think it's 3 points if Newcastle lose tonight to Man United, which is what most people are expecting. They've got a better goal difference than Newcastle. And they've got Newcastle on the last day. So,
could be written
like this, and I'm going to stand by my guns and still think that Fulham will go down and Newcastle will have enough. But if you look at it like this, after tonight, from next week, all they need to do is match Newcastle's results and beat them on the last day. Which doesn't sound so ridiculous.
And when you put it like that, it doesn't sound so ridiculous. David has got in the comments here on the video, says Fulham are solid at the back and will stay up. Palace to go down. I can get on board with that. Remember, if you want to share your opinion, you can get in the comments section and we'll share your opinions. Tim's in the comments. Tim, who was our guest last week, and he'll be back next week, hopefully. He reckons West Ham will finish in the top 4 as well. So lots of interesting comments coming out today from our viewers. Thank you for taking part and thanks for being a part of the show today. Remember, if you want to tweet us or see some genuinely hilarious memes that Roz posts on Twitter, and to be sort of notified of when we go live and stuff, go and tweet us. Go and follow us on Twitter at EPLW Pod. Okay, let's get on then to the big one. I've been making you wait to talk about this one, lads, and I'm surprised neither of you wanted to talk about this. Merseyside's blue for the first time in 10 years. What do you reckon? What do you put it down to? You know, also Liverpool lost 4 in a row at home for the first time in 98 years, and that record is consolidated and compounded by Everton. Roz.
Yeah, I think. Well, I thought that Everton defensively, but absolutely superb. As good defensively as I've seen this season. I've knocked Jordan Pickford in the past. I think he had an absolutely brilliant game yesterday. Didn't put foot wrong, really. Not easy to keep clean. Well, I would have said a month ago, not easy to keep a clean sheet at Anfield. But if you're Liverpool, it's not easy to keep a clean sheet at Anfield at the moment. But no, I thought a few of their back line, Seamus Coleman, sort of, the forgotten man at Everton there, has been putting in a few consistent performances. Carlson was unplayable, and I feel really sorry for Sadio Mane because he didn't see much of the game because he was so firmly in Mason Holgate's pocket. So,
Liverpool are looking like they might not make the top 4, Mus. Can we really see that happening, or is that just? It seems ridiculous to say it. We're talking about the champions and the Champions League champions, like not being able to make it back into the top 4. We've essentially, I mean, yeah, they've had a few unlucky injuries. Obviously, Henderson injured as well, but yesterday. But you know, is it beyond the realms of possibility that they don't make it into Europe or to the Champions League?
No, I think, Joe, it's increasingly looking like it's on the cards. The top 4 spaces it's looking really competitive at the moment, and Liverpool have no kind of God-given right to finish in the top 4, and if they keep playing the way they are, then they will be lucky to get Europa League. But I wonder whether, and I think Roz mentioned this in the preview show, they might do a Chelsea maybe, where they might go on a run and win the Champions League, and then get in the Champions League for next season that way, because that's looking more likely at the moment than them,
Yeah, I mean, perhaps this is a discussion for another time, but just a quick bit of news on the Champions League and UEFA wanting to expand it, and looking at potentially allowing the Premier League to put 6 teams. This is it's a floated idea, but to put 6 teams into the Champions League. I mean, it seems a bit weird, a bit unfair. Roz, go on quickly. Let's hear what you got to say on this.
I was going to say, as an Arsenal fan, that must have liked you.
Mate, if we finish 6th, I'll be happy anyway this season. I'm aiming top half. Do you know what, actually, as an Arsenal fan, and it's a weird thing to say and it's a weird thing to think, but I wouldn't mind if we had like a Leicester when they won the league. You know, the season before, they weren't in Europe. They didn't have any other games to worry about, and they've just focused on the league, and they hit it hard every week. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, you know, and that's all they focused on. So I think that could be good for Arsenal to get back into that sort of place where they belong, in fairness. But anyway, yeah, I digress. And also, next season, from next season, there's going to be a new European Conference League, isn't there? Europa Conference League. So there's going to be a 3rd tier of European football. So that will be interesting to see who gets those positions in the league and how that's divided up and stuff.
Good to see UEFA thinking of the planet and cutting down on airline emissions.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, what they're aiming for here, everything's a step towards a European Super League, like a divisional Super League, isn't it? So that is a discussion for another time, though. We can't carry on with that point, unfortunately. How do you feel Liverpool are going to get out of this mess? You know, I saw a quote online, and it just said, "Klopp, I do not need a rest." And that was like in and I all I thought when I saw that was, he's cracking. The cracks are starting to show.
Is that for me, Joe?
It can be, yeah. I was just throwing it out there and seeing which one of you bit first. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think they need to get some of their injured players back. I don't think there's necessarily like some kind of tactical tweak that will stop them leaking goals the way they are and making them more creative. I think the imbalances will kind of what drags the whole team back. So hopefully, whether it's Jota or one of their centre backs, I know it seems kind of unlikely that they'll play this season, but maybe that will make a difference. Otherwise, I don't really see how you kind of arrest the slide.
Yeah. Just
really
yeah,
quick
just
point.
absolutely. Yeah, just quickly, I just wanted to say there's been a bit of interest in the Champions League expansion stuff in the comments. So I've just letting the viewers know I've shared a link there to in the comments to an article about it. So sorry, Roz, back to Liverpool, Klopp.
Yeah, no, I was just going to talk about their centre back situation because they brought in the young kid back from Schalke there. I've heard he was good in the Leipzig game. I didn't admittedly watch that. 2 games I've seen, 2 league games, he's looked pretty nervy. I was just thinking about the previous champions earlier and how it's very rare that there's always a great defensive partnership. And if one of them is injured, there's always someone that can kind of slot in there.
A la
So
Adams, Keown and Bold sort of thing,
that kind of thing. Or even if you've got Leicester City at the moment, whose recruitment is just beyond belief sometimes. They've got Wesley Fofana, who's injured at the moment, but was world class the first half of the season. They've also got Johnny Evans, who's been superb, and Soyuncu there as well. But it's always good to have kind of 2 world class centre halves and another very good one. And I think you'll find that in most Champions squads. Personally, I wouldn't call Joe Gomez one of the top 15 centre halves in the world. I wouldn't call Joel Matip one of the top 25 centre halves in the world.
Yeah.
And it was that Van Dijk was so good that no matter who played alongside him would be kind of lifted. And he was just so good at organising that back line. I have to say, I'm starting to lose a little, the more I think about it, there's a bit of sympathy for Liverpool with the injury situation. Because quite frankly, if you're so reliant on that one player, I think it was Gary Neville or someone was talking midweek about when Rio Ferdinand missed his drugs test and they were without Rio Ferdinand, who was the most expensive defender at the time, in the world at the time, I think. And so I had to do whatever it was, 8 months without him. No, they didn't win the league, but they didn't finish 7th.
Yeah.
Such a big point in their squad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big mess, isn't it, Van Dijk? And obviously, I think we're seeing a bit more of the Liverpool that before Van Dijk now, aren't we? We're seeing that sort of shaky defensively, but he was like the glue that held everything together, a linchpin, if you will. Okay, before we move on to, did you want to say something, Roz?
No, I was just going to say that also I think people forget that Liverpool weren't doing particularly well before he got injured in that Merseyside derby. They lost 7-2 to Aston Villa. So maybe everyone's sort of using it as this kind of scapegoat that they're missing Van Dijk, but there might have been issues in the squad. The whole squad might have just been absolutely knackered, having gone at it for 100% for 2 years straight. Maybe it isn't just that big the issue.
Yeah, before we get on to our classified results so far, we've got a comment from William. He says he reckons Arsenal played a decent game of football today. He wants to know, Mus, do you think Arteta's doing a good job?
Hi, Will. Good question. I think he's doing a decent job, but I think the jury's still out. I think the FA Cup victory last year buys him time, but hasn't necessarily hit the ground running as I'd hoped.
Yeah, fair enough. Roz, did you want to add anything very quickly before I move on?
Yeah, really quickly. I think what he's done. He's had the same players effectively as Emery. You're not seeing as many kind of comedic goals. He's kind of made them more organised and perhaps traded some of the attacking fluidity for that, just making Arsenal very regimented.
Yeah.
The low press and the low block and all that.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about Arteta and Arsenal for ages, but we haven't really got time. I'm going to do this classified check. So here are your full set of game week results so far. Southampton 1, Chelsea 1, Burnley 0, West Brom 0, Liverpool 0, Everton 2, Fulham 1, Sheffield United 0, and then today West Ham 2, Spurs 1, Villa 1, Leicester 2, Arsenal 0, Man City 1, and Manchester United Newcastle kicks off in about 30 seconds. But we're going to stick around for a few more minutes and discuss our 11s after Roz has given us a rundown of the Fantasy Premier League movers and shakers. But before that, I forgot to do some of our predictions, Roz. So where did we get to? Right, Fulham, Sheffield United. You said 2-0, I said 2-1. We both said Josh Madger, so we get a point each for that one. Liverpool, Everton. You said 2-1 Everton. With Dominic Calvert-Lewin if he started, or Digne if he didn't, and I said 1-1 Salah, so that's a point for Roz. And then the other ones, let's have a quick look at the other ones. Southampton, Chelsea, you said 3-0, I said 2-1 to Chelsea. So you said Werner, I said Mount, so I can have a point for Mount, can't I? It was a draw, but yeah, I can have a point for Mount. Brilliant.
Go on.
And Burnley, West Brom, you said 0-0 and Tarkowski, so I'm kind of, I reckon I think you get 3 points there, yeah. Liverpool, Everton, we've covered. Fulham, Sheffield United, we've covered. West Ham, Spurs, we've covered. Villa, Leicester. You said 9-0 Leicester with Maddison to score, and I said 2-1 Leicester with Vardy to score. So that is 2 points for me. Correct score, correct result. Arsenal, City we've covered, and the rest are yet to come. We'll discuss them in the future. Okay, right, Roz, tell us about Fantasy Premier League. Who's been the best players this week so far?
So the game week. We mentioned the Everton defence earlier. Jordan Pickford being the highest goalkeeper points-wise with 11. But you could have had any of those Everton defenders: Mason Holgate, Seamus Coleman, Luke Dean. You had Anderson at Fulham, so I think he got 13 points last week, got 7 this week. So he might want to move in. I'm sure he's still fairly cheap. Who else? Harvey Barnes and James Maddison today. Both scored against Aston Villa. And one more, let's go for Richarlison for Everton as well.
Seems to have reappeared, Richarlison, doesn't he? How's your team doing this week, Miss, on fantasy? Very quickly.
Not very well. I think I should have stuck with Harvey Barnes instead of trying to get an extra Leeds player for the double game week. So
right, yeah.
There you go.
Who's your captain?
Left us Leeds, mate.
Just get a little Leeds dig in there if you can. Yeah. I actually captained Bamford for the double game week, so
same.
I'm desperate for him to pull something out of the bag on Tuesday. Roz, who was your captain?
I've given up on this week. I'm just going to focus on next week. You know, there's only the future.
Fair enough.
No amount of guilt changes the past.
Hazard Kane, wasn't it? Harry Kane. Okay.
It was Harry Kane.
Yeah. Right, let's have a quick look at our combined Merseyside 11s then. We've got a few minutes left, so we're going to have a very quick look. First up is Roz's team. I'm going to talk you through the team, and then you're going to, Mus, I'll give you a chance to react, and Roz, you can justify your selection. Okay, in a fetching red and blue hoops kit, Roz has gone for Alisson in goal, Luca Dean at left back, Keenan Holgate centre back, Seamus Coleman right back. So that's all Everton you're back for. Davies and Doucouré and holding mid. That's Tom Davies, I presume. Richarlison on the left, Salah in the 10, Diogo Jota on the right, and Calvert-Lewin up top. What do you make of that, Mus?
Yeah, I see the logic. I can't really fault it. I'll wait until my team's up on the screen, but I've got a different take on the goalkeeper and defensive line. Okay.
Roz, did you want to make any points quickly about that?
So I think it was 8 Everton players and 3 Liverpool, which might seem like a reaction to yesterday's result. It might seem like I'm trying to dig out Liverpool. I was actually just going position for position and who's had a better season. So I think Coleman's had a better season than Trent, who's been awful. And I think you can actually do that for all of those positions. Every time it's went out, they're just his contract's not actually having a very good season. Tom Davies, I think, has been superb and very underrated this season.
Cool. Okay. Should we have a look at Mus's team then? Mus. And the real striking thing about your team, Mus, is the blue pitch you've gone for, which is interesting. Reminds me of playing five-a-side when we were allowed to socialise and do sports and stuff.
Masters football on Sky. Remember that?
The Masters, yeah, brilliant. Okay, Mus has gone for a 4-4-2. He's got Keeman Kelleher in goal, Luca Dean, Michael Keane, Jordan Henderson and Ben Godfrey in the back four. Left mid, Sadio Mane. In the centre mid, Doucouré and Rodriguez. Richarlison right mid, and up top, Mo Salah and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So what do you make of that, Roz?
That sounds good. Obviously, the interesting one is Kelleher. I think I might know where you're going with that, but I'd rather hear it from the horse's mouth.
Speak, horsey.
Right. So so I think goalkeeper is a problem position for both sides. I think Pickford is kind of disappointed and performed kind of below par this season, just as Alisson has as well. So then I went to the substitute keepers, and I think Adrian and Olsen have also had similarly shaky inputs whenever they've been called upon. So I went for Liverpool's third keeper, who probably on average has been the better shot stopper and with his feet. So yeah, there you go. That's my thinking.
Yeah, I wouldn't knock it. I've been really impressed with him, and he's played in big games, Champions League and stuff as well. Kept his cool, looked very promising.
And just quickly on Henderson, I just thought you've got perception and expectation, and that's kind of why we think Liverpool are having this awful season, particularly defensively. But actually, they've only conceded one more goal than Everton had after yesterday's game. So I just thought, to be fair and for a bit of balance, stick in this makeshift player who was the Football Writers Award Player of the Season last year and has found himself playing out of position, but has done a fairly decent job.
Fair play. Okay, that gives us a quick minute to look at my team, and I've gone for a back five with Alisson at centre back with Keane and Mina, Robbo on the left and Holgate on the right. I've got no keeper, by the way. I just moved Alisson up the pitch because that's what he does anyway. In the four, I've got Wijnaldum. I've got two number 10s, James and Sigurdsson. Mane on the left, Salah on the right, and DCL up top. I mean, it's kind of variations on a theme, really, isn't it? We've all gone the same. I am surprised that both of you guys went for Digne over Andy Robertson. I found that interesting. But look, I haven't actually got time to go into it. Sorry, we're about to be booted off by the Zoom police. More on that next time. Guys, thanks for joining me today on EPLW. Remember, if you're watching this video and you've enjoyed what you see, like the video, subscribe to the channel and allow notifications. Until next time, guys, it is goodbye from Mus.
Cheerio.
Goodbye from Roz.
See ya.
And goodbye from me. Goodbye.